I'm Sage and welcome to Sage Does Crafts. Today we're starting a new series on my channel called Free Pattern Fridays, where I'm going to be testing a completely free pattern and seeing if it's worth your time or not. Today we are doing the viral dinosaur. Let me put him up here. I've seen him around everywhere and he is a free pattern. I found a free pattern for him, which will of course be linked down below. But I am in desperate need of a birthday present for my father, and so I figured I would make this dinosaur and I'd give him a little cowboy hat. Before we get started, I'm going to show you what colors I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using this Karen 1-pound yarn in the color Succulent, and then for the little accent color, I'm going to be using this Loops and Thread gray yarn in the color Slate, which I think is hopefully going to look super cute having a green with gray stripes dinosaur. So let's get started. Now that I've got the pattern pulled up on my computer, we can get started. And one thing that I will say right off the bat is that this pattern looks as though it's been translated. It says that it's been translated. Let's see. Hello, I translated this dinosaur. Use it to your health. This is the original. So very clearly this is not someone's first language. Someone has translated it. Says this is the original. I'm hoping that this isn't a stolen pattern. So clearly this has been translated. So that is already going to make the pattern a little bit difficult to follow just by like browsing through it. I can tell that things are probably going to be worded a bit weirdly, but nothing that I hope is going to be too bad, because this little guy is just so cute. Okay, so let's get started. I will also note with the head, so we have it starting at the head, and the first sentence is, we start knitting with the main color A. So yeah, very clearly not somebody's first language, but we'll persevere. I need a dinosaur, so. Okay, this pattern has us start off with a magic ring, but I'm going to be using the chain 2 method because I'm always used to using the chain 2 method. I know some people hate it, but I don't get it. It's just a lot easier, and for literally until like the past like couple years, I thought that the chain 2 method was a magic ring. And so when people be like, oh, magic rings are so difficult, you know, they're so hard to get the hang of, I was like, they're not hard, they're super easy. But I later realized that I'm not doing a magic ring, I'm doing the chain 2 method, so no wonder it's easy. So far it looks pretty good, looks pretty easy. I will say the spacing on the website's definitely a little weird. Okay, this is what we've got so far. Pretty standard start. Another thing that I will note is typically the way that I do patterns is I will put the increase first. So if like I'm increasing and then single crocheting and repeating that, I'll typically put the increase first. But in this pattern, they do it opposite, where you do the single crochets first and then the increase last. And I've had it in the past where I've just, you know, I'm like, I'm just gonna do it my way, where I put the increase first and single crochet last. And I've absolutely screwed up whatever pattern I was following, because the stitches will, if you do it a different way, it starts to form differently. And like if you're doing increases and decreases like sporadically, it'll just like shift things wrong. So I'm gonna make sure to very specifically follow whatever they put first. I know that's just like a me thing. I think most people would just follow the pattern as instructed, but if you're someone like me, I would not recommend doing that for most like patterns that you're following, because it really could affect everything down the road. I've had that issue before where I had to start over a project because I thought that I could just do it my way and that it would turn out fine, and then the head was completely crooked and I was super upset about it. So don't be like me, follow the instructions to a T. We're gonna keep working here, and I'll probably see how far I can get into the head before I come back with some thoughts. Okay, so far I've got the head started pretty good. I do have a couple thoughts. So based on what I was saying, like how this pattern's having you do the single crochets and then the increase last, it's just annoying me so much. I don't know if any of you are like this, but having the increase be at the end means that you have to increase in where the stitch marker is. And it's driving me nuts. I absolutely hate that. Gonna do it anyway, just in case I screw up the pattern, but are any of you like that? Like, does that bother anybody else, or is that just me? Anyway, my second thought is now it's having me do a row of just single crochet, but instead of writing like single crochet all around, it just says in a circle. And so, yeah. Definitely worded a bit weird, but so far no major issues, though I am just this far. So we'll have to keep working and see how it goes. Okay, we've been crocheting for a while, and this is what the head looks like. So far, we're going to be doing several rows of single crochet now, but this is what the head looks like so far. And I'm hoping that the shaping gets a little better, because if you've seen the picture, you know what his head looks like, and this is very, very circular. So we're going to trust the process and see and hope that it begins to look more dinosaur shaped, but this is what we've got. He's also really big, so I'm actually kind of excited about that. I love large projects. So we're gonna keep working on him and see what happens. Okay, it is the next day, and this is what we have so far. I just finished the single crochet rows, and this is the head. So we're about to start decreasing. Hopefully you can't hear the lawn work going on outside, but whatever. But we're about to start decreasing, and from what I can see in the pattern, it looks like it's gonna be really aggressive. Like, I'm talking like 8 decreases in a row for 3 rows. So I don't know if any of you struggle with this, but I always struggle with getting my decreases to be tight stitches. So I'm going to be trying my very best to limit the gapping, but I'm excited to hopefully see how this head starts looking like a head. So we'll be back. Okay, so we've got the decreases for our head done, and they are, like I thought, really aggressive decreases, but I don't know, I think once it gets stuffed, the shaping will look a lot better. I'm hoping that it's not super lumpy. I'm gonna have to like make sure that I get a bunch of stuffing into these little crevices so that it looks good, hopefully. But I can see the vision now. He's starting to look cute. I'm imagining that to achieve like the full head shape, that we're probably gonna have to like put a thread through on side to side where the eyes go to pull them in. I think that's probably what it's gonna have us do. But we are finally moving to the first row of color change. So it seems to just be a little bit of it, but also, yeah, the color change from what I'm seeing right now looks pretty standard, looks pretty to the point. You know, it tells you to do this many stitches and then change to like the color B and then carry on, you know. So seems pretty simple. We're gonna get started here. Okay, yeah, and it does tell me at some point, not right now, but at some point I will be stuffing, and it tells me where to put the eyes. So we're gonna keep working and keep going. Okay, so we've got our first row of color change done here, and he's looking really lumpy, but that's about to be fixed because now it's telling us, it is saying now it is time to make the eyes. So it's very clear that this was not translated to the best English, but somebody did their best, and they keep calling it knitting, so but it's, you can figure it out. Like, even though it's like written a little confusingly and not great, you can still figure it out. So right now it's telling me to put the eyes in between row 10 and 11, and it's the wording of where you put the eyes is really confusing, but I think I get the general idea from like looking at the pictures, and that's what it references, like look at the pictures. But it does seem that, yeah, the author recommends that you pull first and then put the eyes. So I'm assuming that that means using a little bit of thread and threading through each side and pulling it tight to give it the look that the pictures have. So we're gonna stuff this head, find him some eyes, and we'll be back when that's done. Here he is all stuffed. I did not pull the eyes together yet, just because I'd have to cut off this thread and then use a needle to like pull it together. So I think I'm just gonna save that until after the body is done, and then I'll pull the eyes together and he will have that little squished head look. But he's turning out really cute so far. So I stuffed him as the best of my ability. He's still like a little bit lumpy, but believe me, his head is like really tight with stuffing. So I think that's just the nature of how he's gonna be. Maybe I can stuff him a bit more or something later. But we're gonna keep working on the body, and it looks like there are just more color changes ahead and pretty soon increases. So we're gonna keep going until I have more thoughts. So, okay, I actually think that I'm probably gonna get my treadmill set up and see if I can get a good angle, because I'd like to walk and crochet at the same time. So we'll see if I can get a good angle for that. If not, I'll probably just transition and come back and show you my progress. But if I can get it to work, we'll have a little montage. Okay. I've been walking and crocheting for a while, but we finally got all of the body mostly done. After this, I'll begin decreasing and closing him up, but this is all of the color change, and it looks spectacular. He's not stuffed yet, obviously, but you can already tell, like, he's gonna be so cute. I'm hoping that the flare of his butt kind of goes away a little bit as I decrease, because he's supposed to have more of like a chumbly round shape, but we will see. So far, no issues. The instructions for the color change were a little bit weird, but after doing it a couple times, you get used to it, and like I said, the results speak for themselves. Like, look how cute he is. I cannot wait to get him done. I think I can finish him today. I've got a couple more hours. Well, I've got like an hour and a half before I need to go to the gym, but I think I can at least finish the body, and then later today probably finish everything else. But super excited. We're gonna start decreasing. Let you know if I have any comments. Okay, I ended up finding a pretty typo. I'll put it up on screen right here, screenshot of it. But essentially, it's telling you to do single crochets for 2 rows, but it doesn't have like a hyphen between 40 and 41. And it also, when it's doing the stitch count with the parentheses around the stitch count at the end, there's not a parentheses, there's a 0, so it's like 560 when it's not supposed to be. And I looked at that for a little bit and I was just like, what does this mean? But after looking at it for a little bit, it just means 2 rows of single crochet. So I suppose it's a free pattern, it's translated, it's very obviously translated, you know, and there still isn't an issue with the pattern, but it's something that like I got caught up on. So you might also just watch out for that, because like there are little hang-ups like that all around, unfortunately. But so far, great pattern. Well, we're gonna keep decreasing. Okay, so we are almost done. He's obviously not stuffed, but I did run into another mistake. It was just a simple little typo when decreasing. So for most of the decreases, it was fine, put like the number of single crochet and then decrease. But for some reason with like one single crochet decrease, I'll put a photo right here so you know what I'm talking about. But they put increase decrease when it was supposed to be one single crochet decrease. And you can tell that from the stitch count and the fact that we're closing it up. Shouldn't be increasing and decreasing at the same time. Makes no sense. I think that was just a simple typo. But we are almost done. Oh, somebody's come to say hi. Say hi, Norbert. Oh, that's disgusting. Thank you for putting your... Okay. Well, she's trying to eat it. And now I have cat boogers on my mic. Yay. But we'll be back when he's all stuffed. Ta-da! He is adorable. Okay, clearly does not have a tail or any appendages yet, but he is looking so good so far. I cannot wait to finish him, but unfortunately I have to go to the gym. So I do intend on finishing him hopefully today, because I imagine that the arms, the legs, and the tail are not going to take a lot of time at all. But we'll be back when we can keep working on him. So cute. You're a good kitty. Oh, you're a good kitty. Okay, it is the next day. I did not have time, unfortunately, to finish this, but I do have time today. So it is getting done today. But I was able to get the eyes to work, or sew around them. Look at how cute! It like narrowed out his head a lot. But look at him. He's so cute. I don't want to give him away, but I'm gonna have to. we are going to be starting off with the arms, and then we'll move on to the legs. We're just going to go in order of the pattern. I wanted to originally start the tail first, but we'll just follow what the pattern in the order. I'm not going anywhere, so let's get started. We've got the arms done, and they are, of course, approved by Norbert. You have anything to say, Norbert? Good thoughts. The arms went on with no problem, nothing noteworthy, super easy. I didn't even have to put in a stitch marker because I could just count. This is how tiny they are. I really should not have gotten her attention. One of these is going to get stolen, if not both of them. Okay, but now we are on to the legs, and I want to say something. I don't know how this pattern was written or by whom. I'll put in a screenshot right here, but it has like the date for like 2016, and then just randomly, such a miracle! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I will definitely connect my granddaughter. Thanks! And then just straight back into the pattern. So, like I said, I don't know how this was written. There are definitely some funny, goofy little things here and there, but yeah. So, the pattern itself looks fine, but it's just like this random blurb in there for no reason. So, yeah, so far looks great. Gonna start the legs, and I'll let you know if there's any problems. Okay? So we got the legs done. They're these little bowl shapes, but they're super cute. So instead of sewing anything on, I'm just gonna go ahead and make all the pieces. So I'm gonna start the tail. It wants me to start it in the gray color. And also, what's interesting is it's starting the tail from the tip. Typically, like what I do is like I make the base and then I'll do work in the back loops like this so that it has something that I can sew on later and then I'll work down. But this one's starting from the end. So we're doing like a 4 magic ring, which I've never done before, which is exciting. So let's get started on that. I have encountered a problem, I think, with the tail. So it started off in the bee color, which is gray, and it's doing the same alteration that the body did, where every 2 rows it changes back to the other color. It alternates every 2 rows. For some reason, it just at some point stops mentioning color changes at all. So I'm gonna continue doing switching the color every 2 rows, but for some reason the pattern doesn't specify that anymore. And you can clearly see in the photos that you're supposed to be alternating, that you're supposed to have 3 rows of the bee color in the tail, but the instructions aren't there for some reason. So that is not good, but I can figure it out, so that's unfortunate. But I'm gonna finish this tail. We'll be back, and we'll sew everything together, and I will give my final thoughts. We've got the tail all done, and it has turned out super cute. Okay, yeah, aside from not displaying like what colors are supposed to be in what rows, this turned out great. So I just had to guess for these last 6 rows, which kind of sucks, but whatever. Turned out super cute. We have all of our pieces now, which means that we can put him together. So let's see what he looks like. Here he is. I made him a tiny little cowboy hat, and I love him. I am going to make another one because he's just so stinking cute. Get his arms. They're a little uneven, but that's no fault of the pattern. Obviously, that's my problem. But he's so cute, and I love his chumbly little legs. If you set him up, he just kind of like wobbles. Oh, I love it. I love the little cowboy hat too. I just made this quick little cowboy hat because my dad kind of likes the western kind of stuff like that. And I think I need to sew it on because that's probably going to continue to happen. So now that we have the pattern done, we're going to be doing a little conclusion review of the pattern. So we're going to go over the instructions clarity, the ease of creation, the end result, and whether or not I think this pattern is or is not beginner friendly. So to start us off, the instruction clarity was pretty good. There were definitely some weird things, definitely translation errors, things that typos, stuff that didn't make sense. So in this category, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because I could pretty easily figure out what was going on. There are just a few things where there's not a space here, there's not a parenthesis here, maybe a little typo there, but if you're familiar enough with crochet, that's not a problem. You know how to get around that, how to fix that. So I would give that category an 8 out of 10. And as far as ease of creation goes, how easy this was to make, I would probably say that this is like a 7 out of 10. Not to say that it's like uber difficult or anything, but if you're kind of new to patterns and doing the color changes, kind of the weirdness of the way that it's written didn't exactly make this the easiest thing to create. Well, worth it, but definitely not easy. So it's not, I'm not saying it's hard, but for me, it was like a 7 out of 10 where there is some difficulty with it, but it's not difficult by any means. And then, of course, the end result, it's a 10 out of 10. Of course, it's a 10 out of 10. Look at him. How could he not be a 10 out of 10? This is what a 10 out of 10 looks like. That's just the truth. And he lost his hat again. I'm not getting it until I can sew it on. But, okay. And our last little review of the pattern, is this beginner friendly? I would say no. I do not think that this is unfortunately beginner friendly. I think that this pattern would be suitable for an intermediate beginner, someone who is well experienced with crochet, who understands kind of the ins and outs, who can look at the pattern in its typos and have enough experience to look at it and say, okay, well, this is written wrong, but I know what I should be doing here. So I don't think, for the reasons of the instructions are just a little off and it's a little difficult, not super, but just a little bit, that would, in my opinion, make this pattern not beginner friendly. But if you have a little experience with crochet, I think this pattern is phenomenal. I am certainly going to be making it again. I'm probably going to be trying to sell these little guys. Like, I just can't. And the hat. You can make all sorts of hats for this little guy. You can make him a little sailor hat and like a little... I'm in love. Who wouldn't be? Look at him. His little tail. I'm in love. But Overall, I think I would probably give this pattern a 9 out of 10 just because he is just damn near perfect. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far into the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and if you liked what you saw, consider liking and subscribing. It will really help out the channel. And let me know down below what you think I should try next. Okay, bye!